Hello, my friends. It's Joshua Jones with Good Luck, Have Fun, Magic the Gathering, here for the first episode of 32 of 32. So what this is we're going to be going through all 32 color combinations. I'm going to try to keep it even on the deck text that we do. So episode 1, 32 of 32. We're starting it out with colorless. As you can see here, we have Traxos, Scourge of Kroger. Yeah, this guy. Colorless construct, dude, legendary artifact creature. I think this is the first like real consideration for construct tribal. I mean, there was Karn. I think Karn was a construct. Probably gonna get murdered for that one. Anyways, this dude is a 7/7 for 4 mana. His trample, and when Trox enters the battlefield, it comes in tap and does not untap during our untap step. So you have to figure out ways to untap them. So how do we do that? We cast historic spells. Historic spells are artifacts, legendaries, sagas. You don't have to worry about the saga enchantments. We're not running a single one in here. Maybe some incidental legendaries. We'll get through the deck and we'll see. We're focusing on artifacts here. So this is a artifact mainly. Colorless construct combos. So let's jump right into it. Starting off with the ramp, remove, refill categories with the ramp, Soul Ring, Dreamstone, Hedron. Dreamstone's kind of nice in this deck because it gives you 3, and then all we're using is colorless, so it's not a downside at all. Sometimes in other colored decks you don't want to run this too much, and then you can get 3 cards later on at some point. Like if you just need 3 cards, colorless needs help with cards. Here we got Mind Stone, Worn Power Stone, Palladium Mire, Felowar Stone. The only 2 I want to talk about here are Felowar Stone, and the reason why we're running this, even though it only produces lands that your opponent's tap, is just a slight hedge against any kind of metas that involve us needing to tap for colored mana, and they have that color, then we're going to have 1 card in our deck that's going to be able to produce that mana. I just wanted to have that in there. Plus, you just tap it for whatever. It doesn't matter because we don't need any colored mana in the deck. And then Palladium Mire, that's a nice little mirror. I don't know how you say that right. Anyways, that's in here because it taps for 2 colorless, and it's just a solid include, in my opinion. Here we got the familiar. So historic spells cost 1 less, so that's artifacts, right? They're going to cost 1 less, and that's in the ramp category because mana reduction is a real value asset for this deck, and it definitely earns its slot, making every spell in the deck cost less. That's non-land, of course. Throwing Dynamo, Hedron, Everflowing Chalice. You can play Everflowing on 2, 4, 6. Wherever you play that's going to be good at. Just dump your mana into it and have no fear. Kind of gets cut in half, but, extends the value of your mana over the long run. And then Hedron Archive here just to get some cards. So I kind of like to look at it as like Mind Stone on 2, Hedron on 4, Dreamstone Hedron on 6 is like just the progression of how that mana rock works. All right, moving on to the remove category. I put Chaos Wand in our remove slot because we don't have a lot of options for removal, but our opponents do. So you can just Chaos Wand and use their removal, and if it's not removal, it's going to be some other kind of benefit for you. Still, Hellkite, it's important to remember that you have to deal combat damage to the actual player to get this through, and then it's just convert a mana cost X, so it's not X or less. A lot of times we see some confusion with that. Here we have Meteor Golem, definitely makes a slot. I mean, 7 mana is kind of tough, but colorless has this thing with destroying non-land permanent, so that's good. And then you see with the armor here, Obelisk, Duplicate. I mean, all cards that just make the cut when you're playing colorless and you're looking to get rid of things. Here we have the Ratchet Bomb, the Boom Pile, the Disc in the Vault. So Boom Pile and Disc kind of like filling up the same gap here, but one's only going to work, I don't know, roughly 50% of the time or whatever the math is on coin flips. I'm not a big math dude. But then the Vault making the cut because it just exiles all non-land permanents. Why not run it? And then Ratchet Bomb to deal with like tokens and all the way up the CMC curve that you need to do there. So just run that in there. And then moving into the refill, we're not playing any Planeswalkers in this deck, so the Immortal Sun definitely gets a slot, just given all our constructs, a boost, and the creatures just general a boost, making stuff cost 1 less. Like I said, a mana reduction is really solid. And then drawing an extra card on every one of our turns, stopping our opponent's Planeswalkers. Pretty self-explanatory card. We don't have a lot of like 1 toughness things, but the Skull Clamp definitely fits in because you just equip it and then some assurance, and then sometimes you can just sack your own dudes. So definitely include that in there. Then if you don't have like $16 or something like that for the Immortal Sun, go ahead and run Staff and and you'll be okay. Same type of thing. Gets rid of some of the other benefits of the Immortal Sun, but you get a ping and then still get a draw card on all of your upkeeps or additional draw steps or no upkeeps. Okay. Here we got Smuggler's Copter for some looting, Mask of Memory for some looting, Azor's Gateway for some looting, and then Planar Bridge to just kind of cheat things in. And there's ways to tap and untap and generate high values of lots and lots of mana. So Planar Bridge is going to be able to search things out for you. And then these other ones for looting. So Azor's Gateway is going to flip over in Sanctum in the Sun if you do 5 different converted mana cost spells. But if you do that, then that's great. It's just add some kind of color mana and go wild. But mainly just the looting on the front. Don't feel obligated to flip it. Here we got Trading Post, Seer's Sundial, Tamio's Journal, and Mind's Eye. So just wrapping up the card draw because we need to draw cards, right? Tamio's Journal is kind of on the slower end, but it will give you clues when you investigate, so you could sack those for 2 mana, and then if you accumulate 3 of them, you can kind of do the Planar Bridge effect. And then we have artifacts in the deck, so Trading Post is going to produce some card draw for us. Here we're moving on to the actual construct utility. So these are cards that are split up between construct tribal sort of themed and then utility cards. So the servant here just untaps something on our instep. Everything in here is an artifact. So one of those things is getting untapped. Whatever one's going to benefit us the most at the instep. Silent Arbiter is just kind of just slow things down. We're trying to get in with our commander to hit for 7 points of damage. So that's what we want to do. We don't care that no more than one can attack each turn, and we don't care that no more than one can block each turn because only one's attacking, and if only one's blocking, we're good because we're going to win on the trample side of that battle. Here we got Workshop Assistant, so just get an artifact back. Scrap Trawler, same thing, but CMC less than whatever was put in. Metalwork Colossus just as a recursive threat because we always going to have artifacts out to sack to put it back in our hand, and then it's basically going to be pretty much free to play every single time. And then the Forge Master here just for some more tutoring up effect straight onto the battlefield. We got the Automaton here, just kind of filling a little bit of a card draw suite with the +1/+1 counter synergy, but also just, for 4 mana, kind of just fits in the deck, and we wanted to run a prime number of 20 constructs if we could, so it kind of filled up the last end of the slot for me. Stuffy Doll is great because you could just convince your opponents to attack you, block with this thing, and then deal damage to whoever you decide is the biggest threat at the table. So if they kind of build up a a pillow fort board state, you can kind of get around that. Treasure Keeper for just a little bit of a cascade type of effect on a dice trigger, and then Triskelion to kind of ping. It's kind of like the version of Walking Ballista that we have in the deck, because Walking Ballista is still right around 14 or 15 bucks. It's been playing everything. Hangerback. Not much to say about this card other than it's great. Adaptive Automaton, you're going to choose a construct, obviously. Mirrors, bringing in the mirrors. I guess there's quite a bit of mirrors in here too, but definitely just name construct with that. And then Mirror Battlesphere, get the direct damage into the player or Planeswalker. And then Chief of the Foundry is going to boost everything in the deck that's a creature because they're all artifacts. I think I'm going to say that about 100,000 times during this video. Everything's artifacts. All right, and then we move on to the Foundry, so more mana reduction, a couple more Mana Dorks and Mannequin and the Hedron Crawler that just made the cut, even though they're not that effective, and then you can Skull Clamp them if you don't need the mana, but we want to just really be tapping a lot of things to generate a lot of colorless mana to kind of work up the scale there. And then Walking Atlas here, just to put a land into play, you got them laying around, so it's kind of our construct package. Now we look at the utility, so Shimmer Mirror is just going to let you play every single card in your deck that's not a land at flash speed. That's just too much value to pass up. No reason to have a Dunkerton Orrery in this deck because this is all we need, even though it's a little bit easier to remove than the latter. Non-artifact spells costing 1 more is going to kind of stacks effect on everybody else because we don't care. And then Palladium Mage will just kind of draw the game out from you losing and your opponent's winning, just to kind of buy us some time, if we need to figure out a situation that we're in or get one of our combos off. With the any kind of deck that you're running where the commander is important, you want to throw in a Boots and a Greaves. But in this case, it's especially important to throw in Whisper Silk Cloak so that even though you do have trample, you can just get on unblockable if you don't want to worry about your commander dying, through combat related damage. Traxos is part of the 3-hit club, so 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out. Go Dodgers. Here we got Soul of New Phyrexia, so just basically you see what it does here. Give indestructible. That's what we're trying to do. Mishra's Self-Replicator is kind of interesting in this deck because every spell that you cast is 100,000. We are going to get to 100,000 times I say artifacts, I promise. Every spell you cast is triggers if it's out. So if you have an extra mana laying around, you're going to get another one of these and then go from there. Golden Guardians, just, why not put this dude in the deck? It fights something, it flips over, it gets you more constructs. We're just kind of doing a wild thing. Vitalik Key, why not pay 1 mana to untap one of our utility things? So, like this Vitalik Key, you don't really need to worry about using this on Traxos. You can, but it's not in the deck for that because everything triggers Traxos. Basically, the doesn't untap ability on Traxos is irrelevant. It has no play in this deck. And then the Paradise Mantle, you want to put this on Traxos so that you can just generate mana because you're going to put this on them. You're gonna tap it for mana. Man, I'm taking a long time explaining this. You put this on him, you tap it for mana. Then every spell you cast, he untaps and you tap it for mana. You see what I'm doing there. Yep. Like I said, Goldforge Garrison, those flip over. You can add 2 mana, but mainly flips over so that you can get a 4/4 for 4. So just generate bodies for you. Here we have the Retriever, which is really well working with Ashnod's Altar, Junk Diver, and Aether Flux Reservoir. So I think there's a thing in Modern called KCI, Clan Works Iron something. Anyways, it's a combo deck. It might be the number 1 deck in Modern probably, and it kind of uses a different card that lets you do this Ashnod's Altar thing where you sack an artifact. So it's not a creature, but you sack an artifact to generate 2 mana. So it's very similar. And what they do is they loop these artifacts that cost less to get a bunch of cast triggers, and then Aetherflux Reservoir will keep adding up your life, and then you combo off that way. So that's going to be in the challenge part a little bit later on, but you see how this gives us a nice little utility package here. Primarily how we're looking to win the game 2 over commander damage. So brings me right into it here. So the challenge achievement trophy for you, if you want to play this deck, is to do exactly that. You have a mana reduction spell out. Okay, you go to cast Mirror Retriever. You sack Mirror Retriever to Ashnod's Altar. You get 2 colorless. Junk Divers in your graveyard. Bring it back to your hand. You play it because it's the mana reduction in the 2 mana that you already have. Sack it so you get a bunch of cast triggers and you win from Aetherflux Reservoir. The other things that you can use to do that are the Familiar here. So the mana reduction, Workshop Assistant to replace out Junk Diver, one of the other ones. You could do it at flash speed with the Shimmer Mirror so that they can't really interact with it, and if they put anything on the stack, you just keep doing it on top. So you kind of makes you your opponents need split second to deal with it, which there is Croson Grips out there, and then Paradise Mantle to give you the mana off of your commander tapping and untapping, like we mentioned earlier. And then we have Vitalik Key, Mishra's Self-Replicator, Hangerback Walker, and Traxos Scourge. The commander himself. So this challenge involves I'm trying to see if you can figure out how to generate infinite tokens or infinite mana in this deck. When I was putting it together, I couldn't figure it out, but I don't know. I just worked with it for a few hours and I couldn't rack my brain around it. I tried putting this card in, putting that card in, and trying to figure it out, and I couldn't. So I challenge you to leave a comment in the box below using this deck tech, or if you want to switch out, 4 to 5 cards or whatever you need. Even if you want to switch out, to come up with a 4-card combo that gives us either infinite mana, infinite Thopters, or infinite tokens using our commander. So let me know if you can do it. So as far as the land base goes, we're running 8 waste. I think it's important to run waste in the deck, even though there are plenty of colorless options. And the mana base for this is a little bit more expensive because you have to run so much colorless stuff. But the waste make the slot because it's a basic land, and that comes into play. Rogue's Passage again for unblockable, and then the Cathedral War here because of the Exalted Trigger. course, we're running the Tron lands. I mean, they're not too expensive to not run, so you might as well just put them in there. They're tapping for colorless on their own, and they're tapping for Tron mana when you get them together. No way to tutor them out in this deck. So I was thinking about running Expedition map, but I just didn't feel like they were impactful enough to do that. I mean, even though they are impactful, just kind of come into them on your own, and if you don't, then it doesn't matter because they produce their own mana without the others. I just wanted to point out that we are running Terramorphic and Evolving Wilds in the deck, and the primary reason why that is because sometimes you'll get something stuck on the bottom of your library, the top of your library, and you'll have it stacked up there, and it's random. When you shuffle, it's going to be random, but having a random shot at something that you know is on the bottom is better than having a zero shot because you know that it's on the bottom. And I think that that's pretty safe to say. Plus, it does ensure that we hit our land drops while also kind of making it so that we have a 97 card library. So just kind of lessening it up, giving us minute percentages better to draw the things that we want. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a math guy, but I like them in there because I like to shuffle sometimes. And then just the gain life spell on the Arch Tomb helps a little bit with the Aether Flux Reservoir combo, and then drawing cards with Arch of Araska at 0 opportunity cost in this deck because it's tapping for colorless. Finally, if you want to play Traxos and you like the 32 of 32 series, head on over to check out the deck list as you see here, and I'll leave a link in the description. You can get this deck for about $70 if you already have some of the colorless lands, or if you have waste from BFZ like time period drafts and stuff like that. So right around $70, you can go ahead and pick this up if you have those 36 lands. But if you don't, it's going to run you about $100. You can get it down to about $100 in a bunch of packages. So right around the $100 limit for this deck. We didn't want to go too crazy with it. Next up on 32 of 32, episode 2 is going to be mono white. So we're just moving right along in the Wooburg order now that we got colorless out of the way. We're going to be running an Elesh Norn Grand Cenobite deck. It's my buddy Jordan Brown who is doing this stuff with me. He played this Elesh Norn deck, and we're not together anymore in the same area. But I kind of want to build this and see what it's about. So yep, we're going to be running this next week. Check it out then. And hit me up in the comments below if you want to have a discussion about anything we talked about today. Remember to like, share, subscribe. And if you're wondering why I didn't run any Eldrazi, it's just, I don't know. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want this deck to be about a I-win combo. So that'll wrap it up this time. I'm Joshua Jones with Good Luck, Have Fun. And good luck. Have fun.